help me welcome to the stage Jennifer Wood, the Chief People Officer from Experity Health. Thank you so much. Come on up. Yeah, thank you. All right. Hello, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
It's good to be here. All right, good morning, everybody. When Christy first approached me to share Experity's story this year, I was a little intimidated, but I heard the theme of the conference was Better Together, and I knew that I had no choice but to share our story. Because Experity is the result of a merger between two healthcare IT companies, two competitors in the industry, Practice Velocity and DocuTap, and we are truly better together. I joined Practice Velocity in 2015 just as we were getting started with the game. I was so proud to be part of this organization that valued open book management, which was something that I thought was really important through my career. I know now that it's way more than that. In 2016, we started playing the game in earnest. We played our first mini games, had our first huddles, did our financial literacy training, paid our first quarterly bonuses. In 2017, we announced our employee ownership plan, giving all of our team members a stake in the outcome of the company, financial stake. In 2018, we brought an army of people to the conference, and we took home the coveted AllStar Champion award. Who was here and remembers that loud celebration? Thanks, guys. 2019 brought big changes for the organization. Practice Velocity was acquired by a private equity firm and merged with our largest competitor, DocuTap. Now, I'm assuming there's some Kansas City Chiefs fans in the audience. And some Dallas Cowboys fans, too? All right. Now, imagine that these two teams are told they're now going to be playing on one team. Legends in their own right on the field, playing with the same scoreboard, but very different coaching styles, very different team dynamics, different playbooks. That's what it felt like to be part of this merger. It was truly a merger of equals. Experity is now 620 employees in 30 states across the U.S., $160 million in revenue, 6 office locations, and we serve over half of the nation's 10,000 urgent care centers with our electronic medical record, practice management, teleradiology, revenue cycle management, and patient engagement software and services. We knew we wanted to be really intentional about the culture that we were defining for Experity. And so we took a step back to evaluate where we were currently. There were a lot of similarities between the companies. Both companies had an entrepreneurial spirit, a family vibe. Both companies had a Midwest work ethic and that challenging Midwest nice tendency. Both companies would tell you that they were very focused on metrics and KPIs and performance. But Practice Velocity, as a great game company, took that to a whole nother level with our weekly financial huddles, scoreboards visible across the entire organization, some of them down to the individual performance level. One company placed a greater value on individual contributions and recognition versus team results and shared rewards. One company focused a lot more on, sorry, lost my train of thought here. One company was a great game of business company, and we had won the AllStar Champion award, and one company had never heard of it. Our CEOs could not have been more different. One was a true introvert, very pragmatic, often the last one in the room to share his opinions and ideas. And the other one was David Stern. We love you, David. Now we knew where we were starting, And we knew where we wanted to go. Practice Velocity's results were undeniable. So much so that when the acquisition got delayed by a year, it cost our investors $100 million more to purchase the company. Think about that. The value of Practice Velocity increased $100 million in the course of a year. And that is largely attributed to our participation in the Great Game of Business. We knew that we needed to include the Great Game of Business principles of educating through knowing and teaching the rules, empowering through following the action and keeping score, and engaging through providing a stake in the outcome. We also knew we were going to have to adapt some things to scale to this company that was now twice the size, and it needed to feel like something new that we were developing just for Experity. And so the Experity Success System was born. Now, you won't see a lot of the Great Game of Business terminology throughout the Experity Success System, but you can see that it's all embedded there throughout. In our core values that are the foundation for our culture, team first, share openly, set and crush goals, those are directly influenced by the Great Game of Business. The entire POG section, POG stands for Priority One Goal at Experity, relates back to the critical number and the importance of having everybody focused on one goal together. Our daily stand-ups and our KPI scoreboards are directly reflective of the importance of following the action and keeping score. Now, we knew that we were going to have some early wins to create some energy and excitement and open people's minds to the changes we were going to be asking of them. And so we jumped a couple steps to providing a stake in the outcome, and we showed them the money. In our very first meetings announcing the merger, we also announced our quarterly bonus program. We've got a $2,500 annual target, and that's split up into quarterly increments. And we actually have two critical numbers, which I know is frowned upon a little bit, but it worked for us, and so that's what we're doing. EBITDA and Net Promoter Score. We chose to so that every team member could see how their work directly influenced their ability to earn their bonus, as well as the success of the organization. At these same meetings, we also announced our employee ownership program. Our investors set aside $8 million as a base investment on behalf of all the team members at Experity. The interest on that $8 million as the company grows in value will be shared by all team members when we have another change in ownership. And being owned by a private equity firm means that that is an inevitable thing in our future. We pivoted back to financial literacy training. Our training manager worked with finance to develop some training that was specific to Experity. Our team members first learned the financial terminology of revenue, cost of revenue, operating expenses, and EBITDA, all in the context of a car wash. And then they took those concepts and translated them to the work that they were doing day in and day out in their jobs. Now, Renee's not a numbers person. She'll be the first one to tell you that. And developing this training and delivering it was pretty intimidating to her at first. But she'll now tell you it's her favorite training to deliver because there's so many aha moments that occur during it. And I will say having a not numbers person develop and deliver the training is a great way to ensure that it's relatable and understandable by all team members in the organization. Renee even went as far as to double dog dare our finance team to include the car wash imagery in our huddles so that those two would be a learning opportunity every time we did one. And they rose to the challenge. You can see here a slide from our financial huddles and the buckets of revenue, cost of revenue, and operating expenses showing up there. Now, one of the things we had learned as Practice Velocity is that because of our subscription-based revenue model, our financials were pretty boring from week to week. There weren't a lot of fluctuations or changes. And employees weren't learning a ton about how their actions really influence the financials of the organization. And so we opted instead to have a monthly huddle that was developed and delivered by our finance team We review the month that happened, talk about any fluctuations or deviations from the plan and what impacted that, and also look ahead to see what's coming in the next month. Our employees instead get involved with the POG and Driver process. So again, POG stands for Priority 1 Goal. We have annual training and an annual workshop for our POGs at Experity. So the first step is to focus on choosing the right POG. What is the one thing that that team can do to most impact achieving the goals for Experity? And then the drivers. What are the actions or habits that need to be built to achieve that goal? And the importance of having a compelling scoreboard and checking in on that score on a regular basis. Every year, all teams participate in a workshop and present their final POG drivers, milestones, and celebration plans to a panel for approval. In the first year, 2020, many were sent back to the drawing board to start over. But they learned a lot of lessons, and we made a lot of progress. 2021 was a lot easier, and we're looking forward to doing it soon for 2022. Now, we were just gaining traction, building excitement across the organization, and we were rudely interrupted by a global emergency, the COVID-19 pandemic. As an essential business, we needed to continue to operate to support the healthcare industry. We felt that the best way to do that was to have our team members, as many of our team members as possible, work remotely. And so in the span of about a week, 600 people transitioned from working in an office location to working at home. And we didn't really miss a beat with our results. One of the primary drivers of our revenue is urgent care office visits. And if you remember early on in the pandemic, the guidance was not to go to the doctor unless you were really, really sick. And so urgent care office visits plummeted along with our revenue, stayed that way for 6 to 8 weeks, and then they jumped back up and skyrocketed to record high levels that we had never seen before. During this time, we shifted from having monthly huddles to weekly huddles to ensure that these employees working at home would have that regular communication. They weren't seeing their managers in person every day, and have all of the information to know what was going on with our company. One of our managers, Kristen Tews, echoes what many people across the organization were saying. Having the great game of business as part of our management cadence provides security about the health of our company. It's been vital when many employees are wondering what's next. Now, we didn't want to lose a lot of traction with the POGs and drivers and the progress we were making there, and so we searched for a tool that we could use to track this virtually. So what you're seeing here, and don't worry about the detail, I know there's a lot there, but is a snapshot from our scoreboard that we review at our monthly POG Huddles. At a glance, you can see how each team is performing to their POGs and drivers by the green, yellow, and red indicator on the left-hand side of the screen. And in our POG Huddles, we'll review this very quickly, and then we spotlight a few teams. So we invite those team members to drill down into their scoreboards and explain to us why their POG's important, the work that they're doing to achieve it, and the progress that they're making towards it. It's been a really great tool, not only to keep tabs on what's happening in the company and keep everybody focused, but also to spread information across the organization about what each team is doing. Now, it wouldn't be the great game of business if we weren't celebrating our wins. We've tried to do this in person whenever we can. We've had some game nights in the office, baseball games, zombie dodgeball, that was fun, parking lot parties. We've also gotten creative and taken things virtual. A couple of my favorites are the cupcake decorating party that we did through sweetology.com. They send a kit to each team member and then guide you through a lesson to decorate your cupcake. And of course, the Shangri-Llama party. I mean, who doesn't want to party with llamas, right? In summary, we've incorporated the great game of business principles into the Experity success system. We have 2 open book huddles per month. We've cascaded the critical number through our POG and driver process throughout the entire organization, and teams meet weekly to review that and make commitments for the following week. We also have our daily team stand-ups with KPI reviews and many digital visual scoreboards across the company. Being part of the great game of business and driving that through our organization has really showed up in our results as well. We've had record levels of EBITDA growth over the past 2 years. Now, some of this, of course, has to be attributed to the merger and the COVID pandemic and record high levels of visits, but it is also attributed to our great game of business participation. Our employee ownership average value continues to grow. Right now, the people that were with Practice Velocity prior to the merger have an average value of about $55,000, and all Experity team members have an average value of about $17,000. We anticipate that this is going to continue to grow and possibly double before we have another change in ownership. From a cultural perspective, our engagement survey results have increased and continue to stay high through the pandemic. This is on a 4-point scale here. And in 2020, we won the AllStar Champion Award as Experity. So that was a lot of fun, although we had to celebrate virtually. Experity and the great game of business are truly better together. Thank you.